Out here, out here, out here. Straight up Cali, let's go. Straight up Cali, sun's blazing high.
Greetings, good people. Welcome back to another episode of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. And today's guest, it's what happens when vision, legacy, and strategy all link up. Robert Gould, that's his name. He's a third-generation entrepreneur, a nationally recognized speaker, and the mastermind behind Legacy Savannah. And if you haven't heard about it, I want you to go look it up. It's a $300 million real estate project reimagining the very land where our people were once sold. Yeah. I love that history part of it. Please make note of all these history notes. He's also the founder of the Big Tide Summit, helping thousands of youth from rural and underserved communities land careers in tech and creative industries. Yes, us in tech, we are there. And the kicker is, he has no college degree. So this episode is about building from where you are, keeping our culture rooted, and creating pathways that don't require permission. So without further ado, Robert, hi, how are you?
Hello. What's going on, leaders and learners?
You are what's going on. So listen, I have so many questions for you because to get ready for this, I was all in your business, and I want the audience to be in your business too, because I have a feeling they're gonna learn something. They are going to learn something, leaders and learners, and I want to make sure that they walk away with something that's going to improve their quality of life. So to get started, I want you to tell me, what does legacy really mean to you, and when did you realize you were going to build one from the ground up?
Wow. Well, legacy is a pulse. It is the essence of life and living, And so I am so excited to be here with y'all this evening, and have been fortunate to be the definition of what that means and living it out. Just a small tweak, probably just a small accident, but I paid a lot for it. So I am a college graduate. I have a degree in marketing and music business from the #1 school of contemporary music in the world, Berklee College of Music, a musician by trade, and have been so fortunate to earn that. I have an honorary doctorate also from Kingston College in South Carolina in business and executive leadership, and also have a minor in global studies. So legacy is education, not just in the books, but who you are, who you exist every day. And every moment we have to live, we are breathing legacy. And it's the decisions that we make. So legacy is the decisions and the essence of who we are and making it happen. So I'm excited to be here with you, the incredible Tonya, on Leaders and Learners.
So let me ask you, what was your path? What was your path to getting where you are now? Because from what I read, it wasn't a traditional path.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
okay.
True. So I'll tell a little bit of a story since we have a little time and we're having a conversation here. I'm a third-generation entrepreneur, as you said, and every word of what that means, I know what it means to build the system of a business as a family. I come from a strong single-family household. My mom is one of 12. But she skipped the line. She only had one. Her siblings had an average of a minimum of 5, the greatest at 7. So I literally have 104 first cousins. But my grandmother, with all the tenacity of the foundation of what an entrepreneur is, her husband was a military vet, passed away as a veteran, and left her with 12 kids to raise. And she had barely a high school diploma and became the first female entrepreneur and owner of a 100-bed mental health facility in the state of Ohio. And then she produced 12 incredible children, who my mother was the middle child, who only ended up having one, but was destined for great big things, and was the first female economic development director for the state of Ohio, worked in 2 presidential cabinets. And so I come from literally the legacy and the DNA of people who define the odds. And my mother will tell you, if you were sitting with her, she went from, public housing to the White House. And that was because not her mother had all the tools of education, but had all the tools of belief in the capacity of who she was. And so every time you get the opportunity to understand that when you walk in the room, you are walking in the legacy of who you are. So I'm able to stand here now as a third generation entrepreneur, the CEO of RG Media Affiliates, a full service program management firm who's programming for education, public and private non-sectors across the country, who is a philanthropist, the founder of the Creative Exchange Network. Through our Big Tide Summit, we're building the next generation of leaders. And as a developer, in the first time in history where there is a development partner with the city, and I'm the master developer on the private end who is developing 65 acres, a transformational community development where we're having 400 housing dwellings. We're going to build an innovation technology center, a studio, recreation that is quality for the future of where generations are going on in the neighborhood that is one of the highest poverty densities in the city. And so when you talk about legacy, Tonya, those are legacy moments. I'm standing in those spaces, owning those rooms because of all those things that have qualified me: the education, the time, the gifting. I'm a man of faith, so I believe the calling, all those things that preceded me that have prepared me for this moment.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a lot going on that you didn't go to school for.
Right.
That's the kicker. The
Yep.
things that you have going on, and I want to bring this up because right now there seems to be, I won't say an anti-intellectual movement, actually there is, but this conversation about not going to college. You don't need to go to college. People, you do. I think it teaches us a lot about who we are. I don't think you have to go to college, but wanting to be educated is important. I was telling a friend of mine and my cousin recently, been having this conversation a lot. It feels like people that didn't go to college or that didn't pursue more education, whatever field that is, they never really wanted to. Where do you think that even comes from?
We're living in such an interesting time frame where I think the workforce of our forefathers is not the workforce of today. And these ideas of what it looks like to build a life is totally different. This generation, when I talk to Gen Zs, and that's what we lean into through our project, through Big Tide Summit, where we take literally students from concept of their dreams to actualization and placement of careers, because we understand that everybody's not going to go to college, but everybody has to have a career, right? And so the gap in between college and directly into career oftentimes is the lifestyle, right? What do you really need to land the lifestyle that you want, and what you need to be equipped with? And then we have the next layer, which is you have to be empowered with the tools of interpersonal skills and communication skills and understand finance at some level, because you have to be sustainable. All these pieces are real important, but technology, as great as it is, has limited a lot of communication. It has allowed for us to put a veil behind the interpersonal conversations that you and I are having. So what we have to do moving forward when we talk about workforce development is, as much as we talk about advancing in innovation, we also have to reimagine teaching communication skills. What does it mean to reimagine talking about that? Because, the generations before us and our generation, we didn't have to worry about having a conversation talking about when you sit at a table and have a meal, turn over your phone. Or what does it mean to stop? These are things that were just habitual to the lifestyle. And so, I think there is more.
But let me challenge you on that real quick.
Go ahead. Come on.
Even with the technology and the internet being a place where people can hide and not use their communication skills, it's also a way to use your communication skills and learn. Like, I don't think it's ever been this easy to access information and learn. So,
That's right.
with the downside of it, there's still the upside that they refuse to use. What
Yeah.
is that?
Well, just like anything in life, you have to have incentive, right? So one thing that we talk about at the Big Tide Summit is very clear.
Incentive. Incentive is being able to know your stuff so you can talk
Well,
crazy to people. Like, what?
this is true, but this generation moves off the pulse of incentive. You know what is so interesting? When I asked, and we started this mission with 20 people in a room, and now we're over 7,000 in 3.5 years. We scaled very quickly. And what I was very tuned in very quickly to be able to define is try to understand from these students, why do you think you don't need to go to college? I want to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to understand, what do you want to do in life? So I can cross compare those two. And 90% of the students that I talked to, when I said, what do you want to do in life? They didn't have an idea of what they wanted to do, but they had an idea of what car they wanted to drive, what house they wanted to live in, where they wanted to vacation at. So what that means is there's a deficit in the gap for them to understand the lifestyle that they want, but not the skills that are needed to get there, and also the jobs that provide those lifestyles. So when you provide the incentives and make it very tangible to say, here is what you say, you want to be a cosmetologist, or you say you do hair well. Here's a cosmetologist. Here's the starting wage. Here's the minimum wage. Here's the lifestyle that they live, the cars that they drive. Here's, a CNA. Here is, the lifestyle. Here's somebody in carpentry or in construction. Here are the jobs and the lifestyle and the cars that they drive. It became quick to them to understand, wow, a trade, a skill, a career is attainable for me. Even if my grandparents are still making $5 to $6 an hour in some of these places in rural Georgia, these are the stories of the students that we serve. But they understand the end result. And so by providing the incentive, although some of this feels like it has been granted, it is a privilege to be able to walk across that stage. That's why I wear my degree from Berkeley extremely high, where the percentage, particularly of the diversity, is big. But for African Americans from the United States, the pool is very small. I wear that with pride. Then a little smaller with African American men that complete, and then our entrepreneurs, even smaller. So I think it is a privilege, but this next generation has to understand the incentive of that privilege and where it leads them to make it happen.
Okay, well, I'm going to take this a little further. How do we even get to a place where our parents and grandparents aren't promoting this? Because, looking at the younger generation and what they are aspiring to or not, usually comes from the people that are raising them. So not to point fingers, but I'm pointing fingers.
Right.
So what happened between whoever raised us?
Right.
And my mom, she wasn't big on college. She even hid my college acceptance letter because she didn't want me to leave. However, yeah, I got accepted to Grambling and found it under her bed. Okay, like,
wow.
But there's always someone in the family that's like, girl, you got to go, you got to graduate, you got to get you enrolled in your classes. Like, there was always a family tie-in to the pride of their younger generation doing more, and not just doing enough, meaning you need to be doing more than what I did. You need to accomplish more than me. I want you to be greater than me. So I'm still struggling with, you have people like you that are taking history and even building on that. And then we have those that are child rearing that are taking us backwards. How do we bridge that gap? Because while we're building, we shouldn't still have to be doing what was for so long a part of our culture. That's our culture. Our culture we fought to read books. We fought to read. Even if you're not in school, we fought to be able to read. And now it's like, I got a headline, I'm good. I saw it on a podcast, I'm good. And I'm struggling with that, as I know many people are. And as smart as you are, I'm hoping you.
Well, you know what it is? I mean, I think that's like world peace, right? Like whoever comes up with they are like already a billionaire. Whoever just comes to the world with that answer, we just go home But I love the sentiment that you have. And when I speak, I've been so fortunate to speak on stages across the world, and from Abu Dhabi, the UAE, to small towns in regional areas outside of Savannah. No matter where I go, and the caliber of students or corporate leaders, that I'm consulting, that I'm able to come in and teach to, one thing remains true, is that you have got to honor your own pathway. And I think what we have to do is begin to not just reimagine step A, but then two, start literally telling this next generation, changing the world is not very hard. It is very doable. And in order to change the world that you live in, because you want to see something different for your life, you want to make the amount of money you want to make, you want to go to the places you want to go to, you have to own your pathway. So much of this generation, and not just this generation, something that connects just the world at whole. I find it even in the corporate, leadership summits that I do. So many people ask the question, are still searching for, who am I? If you've just been born, or you are literally a student in college, or if you are 50 and 60 on this job that you have sunk into, and now you're in midlife trying to find what really is my purpose, what has it meant more than just my children or my spouse. Now, what is my trajectory and journey? Everyone is looking for that next step of who they are. And so you have to begin to start owning your pathway, teaching, and if you're not teaching, accepting that, what I am doing is changing the world. It is making a difference. And that will raise the value on what you do daily, which will hopefully in the long term make you see and value what you're putting out in the world in a different way. We're not going to stop technology from advancing. So you're not going to stop, individuals, students, people from all walks of life tapping into this idea of, wanting more or seeing more. But I think if you start owning your identity, owning who you are, owning your pathway more, you're going to allow for your life to continue to evolve in the best way. So, I think it's a catch-22. So in a nutshell, college is important. Career is important. You have to decide which route is best for you. And if you come from a home, this is the best thing I could share for your listenership. And there may be some young person, there may be a family who's listening to this tonight. There could be somebody who's going to replay this. I want for those people who have not thought that they had the capacity to learn because generations before them did not attend college, you are able to do it. I want for the person who thought maybe that entrepreneurship is not for them because they've only seen generations before them, have jobs and work in a system. Entrepreneurship is for you and you can make it happen. There are also people who may be watching tonight who think that it is not possible for them to escalate in a job or have a 401k or have sustainability and safety. You deserve safety. You deserve sustainability, and you will make it happen. It is possible for you, but you have to make the decision,
I love that. Hi, Gloria David. Gloria says, I love that. Owning your pathway is the foundation to building what success looks like for you.
Let's go, Gloria.
I love the know who you are thing, though. I think it's too many people that don't know who they are, and they're too busy trying to find who they are on the internet instead of, again, traditionally how we are raised is figuring out who you are, what you like, how you move, what feels good to you, not what's going on with someone else. What's a famous saying in our family? Oh, trying to keep up with the Joneses. No, right. Never trying to keep up with the Jones in my life because no.
Right.
Going back a little bit to the part of history, and I think it's amazing what you are doing because as a communications professional, I think our job is going to be storytelling for the rest of forever as they continue to try to rip our stories out of history. We have people like you that are building a legacy. Legacy Savannah is being built on the land tied to slavery. Obviously, there's a story that goes along with that. I want you to talk to me about what that spiritual weight, how that fuels you.
Yeah. You know, I can't talk about legacy Savannah or this development without talking about someone who I carry, you know, their name. I was named, my mother named me after my great grandfather, who was her grandfather, Robert Majors. And in the early 1900s, in the early 1920s, he was called for his witty invention and ideology of understanding in the hills of West Virginia how to mine coal. And so he literally was a coal miner from the hills of West Virginia who basically came as an African American man to a space where it was predominantly white and Caucasian people. And he taught them how to mine coal in innovation that he had no terminology for, but just a gifted anointing for, just a gifted set for to know how to do. And again, someone who led not because he had all of the capacities and tools to lead. He had the capacities and tools to understand that what he did was bigger than him. And that led to something so much more. And so Legacy Savannah, again, 400 housing dwellings. We have Innovation Center, entertainment, the intersection of where the past, the present, and the future of not the most vulnerable, but the most promising and greatest sector in Savannah exist is literally catapulting the future of what it looks like for public-private partnerships and what we do to make sure that we are pushing our community forward. And that is a spiritual calling. I say all that to say it is all a spiritual calling, because when we understand that the kingdom of God is not just made up of things that happen spiritually, it is also the actions that we take, because in the Bible, in the Word of God, it says faith without works is dead. And so the works that we put in through our giftings and through our talents and our assignments are the evidence of what is produced by the call and the destiny of God for our lives. And so Legacy Savannah is that. It is for sure feeling the importance of what the ancestors who have gone before us, but also community who has had dreams now who are going to see them fulfilled. And so to be at the age of 31, to be the youngest developer in this region to do this, some have said the state for sure, but we know for this region, and to be the first African-American and minority to do that is powerful. And to much is given, much is required. And so this is why it is so important of what we're talking about, all our learners and watchers and doers who are watching tonight. It is so important for you to understand you may not be sitting in the revelation of what you are supposed to be doing right now. But you have to always understand that the room you are in is preparing you for the tables you'll sit at. I had no idea that I would go from eating ramen noodles on a dorm room floor at Berklee College of Music studying to literally becoming the youngest music exec hired at BMI, the largest performing rights organization in the world, a global billion-dollar corporation. And I went from being an intern, which you can read about in my book, The Intern Guru, interning, serving, putting sticky notes on my boss's coffee cups in our morning coffee runs, which turned into relationship, which turned into trust and value in my thought process and what I was thinking and saying about how to move the company forward, which landed me a job walking across the stage as a college student. But I had no idea that I would be sitting now having to manage a $300 million infrastructure vertical project, or, you know, be managing thousands of future careers in students and through our Big Tide Summit, or programming in what I'm doing with our clients and working alongside huge clients like Ecom or HJ Russell and Company. I had no idea that I was going to be doing these things then. But God knew that I needed the bandwidth of understanding the least of these. You need to understand what it means to grind and sleep on your dorm room floor and fight very quickly to get to where you want to go, and then be put in that billion-dollar environment so that now I could lead and own on my own. And so it's so important. You never know where your revelation of your destiny is taking you. but you got to
It's
own
so funny when we talk about college, at least my husband and I and many of our friends that went,
it.
um, the rough part of it is the part I feel like people need even more than the book and teacher and classroom part of it. Like under me and so my roommate, one of my best friends, we often look back on our days where all we had was two nickels to scrape together
That's
and
right.
we're so broke we were sharing a two-item combo at what's the Asian food spot? Chinese food place?
Panda Express.
China.
Come
Two,
on.
two-item combo between, and we like to eat, okay? But
I was eating a kids meal. You were fancier than me.
hello, like those days too. But we won't even talk about the gourmet meals that we've made out of top ramen or the thousand other things that you had to go through,
Yes,
study groups, and your stomach is grumbling, but you still got to get through this test, or not
yes.
having insurance, but you got a toothache and then you got a final. How do you do that? Those are the parts of it I think people miss, is learning how to grind, learning how to get it out the mud. And it didn't necessarily mean you were poor. Sometimes your parents or whoever was teaching you this is what it's going to be like if you want to have those things that you say you want,
Let's go.
in your
Let's
life.
go.
But
Let's go.
so I did want to ask you though, what does it mean for a young
Can I
black?
say one thing
Oh
about
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're okay. And I think we have a little bit of a delay, so I wasn't talking over you. But one thing I think that was incredible that I want to chime in on what you said, there is no competition for being extraordinary. It is a decision that we make daily to be extraordinary. And the race is for you. And, my mom had a very clear rule growing up. And it is, you say you want these things. So if you want it, you have to go get it. In my second semester at college, my mom said, I'm going to give you one semester. Your second semester, you're going to have to get a job. Why? Because I want you to understand the principles of entrepreneurship and what it means for you to get up and to hustle and build your own work ethic. And that is so important. That I don't get overwhelmed when I hear students say now, or parents sometimes say, oh, well, they're into so much, they're doing so much. It is good. It is good. It is a balance, because the reality is life is going to have you juggle. Regardless of going to college or going into career or starting your journey, whatever it is, you're going to have to juggle. And so those things that you want, you have to go after it. I am sure, I've heard incredible things about you and your journey and where you sit in public and private sector and all the things that you juggle and do. And you're a mom, you're a wife, you're superwoman on low key, all those things that you're doing, there's no prescription to say, how do you make it happen? You have to do it every day. And so I think one of the things that we have to inject back into today's workforce is, it is not a privilege for you to work for a company. It is not a privilege, the company is not privileged for you to come into the office. The job is not privileged for you to come in. It is what you want for your life that grants you access to the next level. So I just wanted to say that very quickly because you inspired me.
Man, the people that get to listen to you on a regular basis, I hope that they are feeling blessed and highly favored, because there's so many of us that are just surrounded by dummies on a regular basis. I mean, come on. I'm just saying, I just want to throw that out there. So let me ask you this.
Yes.
What does it mean for a young black developer? Okay, first the developer part, but to work directly with the city, who people have a hard time getting connected with. And what hoops did you have to jump through to make that happen?
Well, first of all, let me say I have had the most incredible opportunity and time and experience partnering and working with the city of Savannah. It has been an amazing opportunity. I want to be very clear about that. It's been great. This is a big development. And so it is layers for sure in execution and in time components to it. But I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this in Savannah, where maybe in a lot of other municipalities, it wouldn't have happened. but this is a community project for sure. And so as much validation from, a formal capacity of the municipality as I had, I also had to have validation from the city and walk through a process of explaining and showing and working hand in hand with the city what my vision was to honor the past, position the present and launch the future and what that looks like. And so, it has been an incredible resource, an incredible partnership, an incredible just connection to be able to work with the city of Savannah on this project. So I'm super grateful. And I have had nothing but rave things to say about that and the leadership of the mayor and the council here who've really gotten behind me and supported me to make this happen.
That's dope because our past mayor was a NIMBY and we can't get nothing built. We about to lose everything up in here. We got a whole boardwalk that's falling apart because they don't want to do anything, which is weird to me. It's just weird behavior. Gloria, I love her. She needs to be my friend. Like she said, you hit such an important point. A lot of my generation are what I call, I love this, empty flower vases. I'm gonna start using that, Miss Glow. I hope you don't mind. Beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, but hold nothing of worth or
Wow.
value. I'm gonna add the end value thing because
Yeah.
hello. I'm begging us to just come on. We have been so much and it took so long and it feels like we are letting others drag us in reverse. I don't know. Am I beating
No,
a dead horse?
and Gloria's preaching tonight. She's on, she's in. Congratulations for you, Gloria, for clocking it, making it happen.
Man, for real.
I do think it's important. I tell people all the time, and you can find this out more in my book, The Intern Guru, 5 Steps to Unleash the Warrior and Own the Boss in You. You'll find out one of the tips that I really explain to people is that we all have gold on the inside of us. We all have something special that makes us who we are, but oftentimes we don't dig far enough. We don't go deep enough. We don't do the work to really understand who you are when the lights are not on you. Who are you? What are you saying? How are you interacting with people? And what is the preparation and work that you're putting in privately when no one is watching to see you get to where you want to go? And so I liken that a lot to what she is saying about the empty flower vases, cute on the outside, but baby, what's on the inside? How are you watering it? How are you growing it? And so many of us, Tonya, we walk around and we walk in a maze in life, regardless if we're 8 or we're 88, not because we don't possess something great on the inside, but we haven't done the work to dig deep enough to find what it is. And if you ever have done any research on gold miners or diggers, you'll understand that the most important part of the mine is not the hours, the time, the months that it takes to first dig the surface. You are going to have to break a sweat, break your back just to dig the surface, because the greatest amount of gold, even when it's found at initial struck, is not the first strike. It is not what's on that middle layer. It is what is at the deep core of the root of that well where the greatest value, the greatest amount is found. So you have greatness all on the inside of you. And if you don't do the work to find out what it is that makes you great, not what makes you look pretty on the outside, but what is that thing on the inside that only you can offer the room, that shifts, that shakes, that transitions the room? That's that thing that you have to tap into.
I absolutely agree. Gloria, again, I love that. Owning the pathways, the foundation to building success that looks like you. I just think she's dropping some gems. So you only hang out with smart people? Is that what's going on here? And for you guys to know, the Intern Guru is it's an easy read. I think you need to take some time to go through it. It makes you think about some things. I'll post the link in the captions, but we need tools. And I love that many of the authors that I have are providing tools. Like I don't do fluff. So if you don't have something that's going to help someone with their quality of life, I don't want it. But we are in a moment right now where you need tools to build you.
Right.
Talked about what he said earlier is so on point about knowing you, not knowing who
Oh,
you see over here, not knowing who has the nice shiny thing that you might want, but you. Do you really want that? Why? There's a why behind everything. You definitely need to tap into that really quick because your resume is so impressive. I don't know how I missed the degree stuff, but what I think I was impressed by is that the stuff that you've accomplished isn't what you actually got your degree in. At least not the stuff that we're talking about. And I think that's important too. My son has his degree in, he has a master's in cybersecurity, but he works in sports comms. So he does media for sports, and he's struggling with this. Like, I need to go do what I got my degree in. I'm like, but that is not what's paying you, and
right.
that's not where you're happy. So that's a legitimate struggle. Like, you have
Yeah.
a real grown up job,
Yeah.
weirdo, and you want to give up your job for what you think you
Yeah.
are supposed
Yeah.
to be doing. Like, okay, I digress. But Coca-Cola, JP Morgan, listen to these names, y'all, and Nike.
Mhm.
I want to know, and I want you to tell the people, how did you get big brands
Mhm.
to trust you and believe in your vision?
Yeah. Well, you're so funny. I love it. I love it. I love the faces. Well, here's the first thing. So, I'm 31 and I've been fortunate to be able to hold some seats and positions and titles and then launch into entrepreneurship really because of what was instilled and provided in a space of me. I didn't have to go far to look for mentorship or a roadblock or a model of what success was, because even though statistically, I would be someone who would be projected to not be standing in the spaces where I'm standing at now with a single mother, being African-American male, being 31 years old. But the reality is that my whole life, I shared earlier, has been built on the audacity to build stages, the audacity to believe in yourself, the audacities of my great-grandfather who, in the 1920s was coal and mine, or his daughter, my grandmother who, was a first generation entrepreneur, and then my mother who, because of her mother's tenacity and ability, went on to entrepreneurship and stratosphered and built really an essence of grind and hustle in my everyday growing up life. And so when you think about that, a lot of the spaces that I'm in now, I don't say this with ego, I say it with confidence. And I tell my team that now I am the owner, proprietor, and manager, and hire people and required to lead families. What I tell them every day is that the ownership of the future belongs to the steps that we take today. And what we set up for right now in this moment is the realization of what will become. So when you say, how have you had access to these names and brands? I gave you the arc earlier. I went literally by being prepared, by being in position, by owning my pathway, by being a volunteer to be able to be in spaces where it would be the unknown. I've always stepped up to the plate. And so from the Grammys to the Complex Group to BMI, those led me to those spaces, to Berklee College of Music, to being a child actor, traveling on Broadway stages. My life has prepared me. So the life prepared me, the paper validated me, because we're talking about college and career, to be able to stand in these spaces and know how to navigate it, for sure. So all of those components, go into standing where I am now. I understand very clearly that I have been fortunate and blessed with opportunities that a lot of predecessors and people twice my age have not been granted the access to. And I have had to carry a lot of weight earlier. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of push. There's a lot of determination. You don't get to building a program in, 3.5 years, 10xing, going from 20 people in a room to, over 7,000 in 3.5 years without having to make sacrifice, with no corporate funding at zero cost to over 12, counties and school systems, to the students. You don't get there by just having, a concept idea. You get there because you believe in the extraordinary that you possess. And so this is just the beginning of the essence of what I know God has, the plan, the purpose of what is for the future. And so, I honor it. I'm humbled in it, but I'm very realistic to understand that the weight is heavy and you have to carry it.
What do you drink? Like, you got an energy drink, or like, what's your thing? Like, what do
It's a lot of
like,
mind in my own business. That's what I drink. A lot of mind in my own business and a lot of great spring water. A mix of those things.
But look, all this stuff that you're doing, you have to take care of yourself. So what are you doing to take care of you and your mind, your body? What are you doing?
Yeah, balance is really important. I know that people say, like, what is balance? And I'm one of those people. I'm guilty of that.
Are you eating cheesecake? Are you eating fried chicken? Like, what are you eating? What are you doing?
Look, now, come on now. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Now I'm going to eat me some fried chicken and cheesecake, but in moderation, and sometimes the reality is you have to grant yourself the peace of that. I love telling my corporate leaders, oftentimes through consulting that we do, or, through our workshops that we do with corporate leaders, grant yourself the ability for, that grace for a little cheat. Of course, you don't want to make it
You got to go to the gym to be able to get the
That's what I'm saying.
Do the work.
You got to
do the cheat.
You got to do the work, but life is not over, because you've had a cheesecake and you got that deadline that's due, and you need something to carry you, through that. So moderation, for sure. But the reality is, I think as much as food is to life, which is essential, also is your own spiritual connection and what that looks like, because we all have a purpose for being here. Not everyone, may be a Christian. That's fine. I'm not talking about that. But you have to connect with the being of what has you here on earth, the purpose of what has you here on earth. And you have to have some calling outside of the job. Because who are you when you go home at 5 o'clock is so important, and as important to who you'll be when you come back the next day, or how much money you have in the account, or where you want to go. And so that balance is more crucial than anything. If I don't feel, me personally, I'm a man of faith, I'm a man of God, I'm a Christian. What I believe oftentimes that a lot of these decisions and things that are on my portfolio are essence of me understanding that God has me in the room. And when I get in the room and I feel disconnected from something, if something doesn't feel right, character and morals are at the top of my list. I have not taken on clients because I feel like there's some morality clash there. That's my own personal decision and the success meter that I've been able to live by, because I understand what it takes for me to produce. So you have to be okay with that, setting your standards, setting some metrics, and being okay. It's not, self-care is not just you going to get a mani and pedi. Self-care is not just, you going to get a massage. Those things are nice. That's great. But are you calibrated with who you are spiritually, internally? The reason for your being is as important as going to the gym and running 3 or 4 miles,
Yeah, I got 3 athletes that live with me, all baseball, softball. So I've stopped the whole get the nails done, because my spirituality is telling me that it is a waste of money every time in 24 hours. But I do want to, again, I'm loving Gloria down to the ground over here. I think Robert's prioritization of character over pedigree is why he is where he is. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Character is important, and people don't value it anymore. Clearly, that's driving me nuts. But we're gonna get you out of here. Before I let you go,
yes.
And thank you, Miss Gloria, for being a part of this conversation on a Friday. Okay,
yes.
But give me 3 words that you would never want affiliated with you.
Wow, 3 words I would never want affiliated with me.
Yeah.
Well, for sure, procrastination.
Okay.
Impossible, and unaware, impossible, and procrastination. And I'll flip that. Not that you asked, but I'll flip.
Yeah, we're going to go through that.
Is 3 words that I would want associated with me is tenacious,
Yes.
capable, and
Yes.
determined.
I love that. I
No.
absolutely love that. Branding is big for me. I love to hear how people brand themselves, and words matter. What makes you feel good about you? Not just, people, again, we talk about the things, but who are you? And I think you have really been clear about who you are. So I appreciate that. What you are doing, what you want your legacy to be, and how you want to be remembered, because your legacy is more than just what you're building in Savannah. It literally is some of the most incredible things that you are pouring into other people. That is something that can't be taken from us.
Wow.
When you want to make an impact on this world, you will. Find your calling, do all the work, do all the things. Don't shy away from the challenge or the surface work. Make it, understand that it's going to be hard. You're going to sweat. What'd you say? You're going to sweat. You're going to struggle. You're going to all the things. And if it's too easy, it's probably not really where you want to be, where your soul is going to lean into. So I thank you so much for being here. Let the people know how they can get in touch with you, follow your journey. I don't know if you need any more investors. It sounds like you got everything laid out, but you never know. Give them the people the
Who
information.
said that, Tonya? I didn't say that. Who said that? Who said that? It's never enough to the impact of doing good. We always want to do it bigger, greater. But thank you again for this time with leaders and learners. I'm so glad to always not just be a leader, but always be a lifetime learner and an intern. So you can check out my book, The Intern Guru, 5 Steps to Unleashing the Warrior and Owning the Boss in You, available on Amazon and all digital platforms. As well as you can follow me directly on this crazy, amazing journey that I'm on, balancing all of those things that you've heard me talk about tonight at the RG Experience. Robert Gould at the RG Experience on all social platforms. And then lastly, for our upcoming initiative where we literally are building the future of technology, tech, STEM, and careers, if you want to join our mission to build the future of so many deserving students across the Southeast, we want your support. We're 501c3, a nonprofit, and we need your journey to continue to expand the journeys of others. So you can go to bigtide.org, find out how you can give and be a part, and also come be a part of volunteering and being a part of our mission. It's incredible. It is workforce and career development on steroids with culture and arts. And so our goal for Big Tide is not just for it to be here in the state of Georgia, but we want to expand across the nation. And so with viewers and supporters like yours, we know we can make it happen. So we can make our way to California.
Hey, one of my sorors bought a house in Savannah, and she's bi-coastal. She be out there showing pictures of deers, and she be like, "Bambi's visiting today," but she's more in Savannah than she is out here now. I said, I thought you were supposed to be visiting, and then okay, so she loves it, and we have a property out there. Yeah, definitely want to come out and support. So let's make sure we keep in touch.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all so much, leaders and learners.
Hey, thanks for showing up to the podcast where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. When you get a sec, take a moment, leave a comment. What do you think about today's episode? And share it with someone that you know could use the gems that were dropped today. Follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss who's coming up next. You never know who could show up here and what they could say. For your professional needs, marketing, PR, communications, and leadership, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Sand and Shores, or hit us up at sandandshores.com. Again, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.